So I'm going to run through the basics of designing a website, so creating layouts using HTML and CSS. So here we have the page as it is, sort of pretty plain. There's not a lot of CSS in it, in fact there's none at all. So looking at the HTML for it, we can see all the content is inserted using includes. And even before I start doing any coding whatsoever, I need to do a design. So I can do this either on paper or using a graphics package or even Word. Here I've used Word. And this is just to get a general idea of the layout and the names I'm going to give the containers. So remember, all the content is contained within containers, and the containers are defined within your HTML. So there's two things I need to do next, and this video will concentrate on one aspect of it. But the two things are to create the CSS styles for these containers, and the other task is to actually create the containers in the HTML. So I'm going to you can do these either way around, either do the CSS first or the HTML first, or you can do a combination of both. But I'm going to do the HTML first. So I'll just pop that aside, keep it open for reference. So in my HTML, my PHP page, I need to build these containers. So the first one I can do is the one labeled container. So the container needs to contain everything, all the content. So it needs to encapsulate all this content. So start it at the top, just after body, and it goes like this. So it's angle bracket, div, that's div, equals, and then in quotes, the name of the container. So in this instance, it's called container. Some people call it a wrapper. So we don't include the hash. And then I need to end this just like any normal HTML. So just before the body end tag, I'll do angle bracket / div. So we can see that div starts there and then and contains all this content, and then it ends there. So the next one, looking at my layout, is banner. And banner, the contents of banner on this bit of PHP includes header.php. So I'll start it just before there, so it's div id equals, I think I've called this header or banner. Then I end it after the PHP. So it's / div. Yeah, so we can see that that's one container as well within the container label container. So the menu is inside navigation. So again, I do the same. Div id equals navigation, and that ends after navigation. Now things begin to get slightly more complicated because I've got a few more nested containers. So I've got content, and inside content there are two containers inside there. So I need to make sure that I set up content correctly. So I know that all this content there needs to be inside content. So it's div id equals content, and then end that there. So this is the content div, and then I want to have one story in the main column and then two stories in the right hand column. So here I put div id equals, let me check that, it's called story. And I end that after this PHP code. And then these two items, div id equals right column, then I end that. And save that. And then I've got one more after there. So this one is the footer, which actually goes after content. So I need to look at where content is. So content is all that plus that. So I've got div there, div there, div there, and I've ended these divs there. So div id equals footer, and then there's a little bit of PHP code that's missing from there, which I can just copy that. Oops. Copy that, paste that, and I'm including footer.php. So if I look, I've saved that. If I refresh this, you won't see much happening apart from a little error there, but don't worry about that. But if I'll just show you a little trick. If I inspect that with a little plugin for Firefox, so if you keep an eye on this little plugin basically lets you inspect a web page. So you can see that all these elements have been highlighted, and then in this left hand box it actually shows you the HTML code. Yeah, so we can see that we've got the div banner, the div navigation and all its contents, the div content with the two divs inside there, and you can see the content of that, the right column, and the footer, which isn't quite working for some reason. So the next video I will show you how to style these divs, and we basically use CSS to give the container boxes backgrounds, widths, colours, borders and things like that.